The early dusk cloaked the forest in shadows, twisting trees into sinister shapes. A chill hung in the air, making the hairs on Lucy's arms stand on end. With her friends Ethan and Maya, she huddled around a small fire, the crackling flames a weak shield against the growing darkness. Maya mutters that they should have turned back an hour ago, and her eyes darting to the thickening trees. She says we shouldn't be here in this place after. Ethan shrugged, tossing another twig onto the fire. He says stop worrying, and this was just a normal camping trip and that they will be fine. Lucy too assures Maya, though her voice was not as confident as she wanted it to be. They had wanted an adventure, far from the mundane reality of their town. The three of them had always been close, their shared experiences bonding them through thick and thin. But now, the stories of old legends unsettled her. Maya whispers about she hearing about the Wendigo and continues that the legend says Wendigo roams these woods, starving yet insatiable, a creature that consumes not just flesh but the very essence of its victims. Lucy shook her head, laughed nervously. She says that it's just a story and nothing to worry about it. Ethan also says they are very safe and there is no monster in the woods, trying to dispel the eerie tension. But the rustling of leaves seemed to echo in an unsettling way, as if something unseen was listening. As the night deepened, the fire's warmth began to flicker, subdued by an unrelenting chill that seeped into their bones. They distracted themselves with anecdotes, laughter ringing hollow in the frosty air. But Lucy couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. It felt as if the forest had drawn closer, wrapping around them like a predator closing in on its prey. A sudden snap of a branch silenced their laughter. Each of them froze, eyes wide and hearts racing. Maya whispered what was that sound with her voice trembling. Ethan assures that probably an animal, though the bravado in his tone had waned. Lucy felt a deep chill crawl down her spine, sending warnings through her instincts. The forest was too still now, the usual sounds of night muted as if the woods themselves were in suspense. As if on cue, a low growl reverberated through the trees, resonating deep within the earth. It was guttural, an otherworldly echo that sent the three of them scrambling to their feet, hearts racing like a wild drum. Lucy urged everyone to get out of the woods quickly, moving toward the path they had come from, but before they could take a step, a shadow burst from the thicket. Its form was elongated and emaciated, skin stretched tight over protruding bones, reflecting the pale light of the moon. Eyes glowed amber in the darkness, filled with hunger and madness. Without thinking, Lucy grabbed her friends, and they sprinted back into the trees, adrenaline pushing them forward. Branches clawed at their faces and arms, tearing fabric and skin as they dashed deeper into the woods. Maya gasped, breath hitching as they stumbled through the undergrowth. The growl followed, closer now, echoing past their own breaths and pounding hearts. Lucy pointed to what appeared to be a small cave, partially hidden by brambles. They dove inside, hearts racing, the darkness wrapping around them like a heavy blanket. Panting in the confined space, they listened as the creature prowled the mouth of the cave, its breathing low and ragged. They knew it could smell their fear. Lucy's mind raced. It was a creature born of frost and shadow, a monster that was said to twist the souls of the lost into something utterly grotesque. The legends whispered of indifference to pain and suffering, of an unquenchable thirst for eternally unsated hunger. This was no normal beast, it was a Wendigo. Ethan asked them to turn on their flash, panic etched on his face. They fumbled for their phones, desperate for the faint glow in the oppressive darkness. When the light finally illuminated the cave, panic subsided slightly, but the creature remained, sniffing the air at the cave's mouth, waiting for its prey to emerge from the shadows. Maya suggested, though her voice cracked in uncertainty, that maybe the creature would leave. But Lucy shook her head and said Wendigo won't leave until it gets what it wants. Hours passed, the forest remaining eerily still except for the occasional sound of the creature moving just outside. Cold set deep in their bones, and panic clutched at them. Lucy felt the weight of hopelessness crush down. It tugged at her to be brave, to warn her friends to run when the moment came. She felt a visceral bond with them, they could not die here. Never here. Then the air shifted. The growl paused, replaced by the whisper of the wind, punctuated by the distant sound of something moving away. Lucy exchanged cautious glances with Ethan and Maya, slowly peering out from their hiding spot. The moon shone brighter than before, illuminating the clearing. There was nothing lurking, only the deep stillness of the woods. She urged that they should go now, and her friends nodded vigorously. Cautiously, they slipped from the cave and into the woods once again. Each snap of a branch or rustle of leaves sent shivers down their spines. The air felt charged, alive with an unseen threat. They ran, hearts beating like war drums, following instincts that screamed for survival. The world blurred past as the familiar path emerged, guiding them back to the trail. They could see the flickering lights of their campsite ahead, but just as relief washed over them, a guttural roar shattered the night. The Wendigo broke through the trees, lunging at them with terrifying speed. Lucid terror propelled them forward, the fire becoming a beacon of hope massive against the darkness. They reached the campsite, frantically pushing past the flickering flames that fought against the encroaching dark. Lucy spots their van and shouts as they hurled themselves toward their van, scrambling to find the keys. Ethan fumbled, finally managing to yank the keys from his pocket as the shadow drew closer. Each heartbeat felt like an eternity as they climbed into the vehicle, slamming the doors shut behind them. Ethan started the engine, its roar a defiant challenge against the echoing growl. Maya screamed go, and he slammed the gas, tearing down the winding track that brought them to the woods. The trees blurred into pale lines around them, and the Wendigo's haunting silhouette pace in the shadows, a distant specter that would remain with them always. As they broke free, the panic subsided, leaving a heavy weight of unshakable fear. They drove in silence, the reality of what they had encountered slowly sinking in. Maya finally broke down and cried, her voice barely above a whisper. Lucy consoled Maya, her voice heavy and hollow. In the rearview mirror, darkness swallowed the woods behind them, but the memory of the creature and their close brush with something primal still clutched them like a ghost. They now knew the terror that lay waiting beyond the safety of their firelight and hands that held stories. In those woods, the Wendigo had been real, and it would forever linger in their minds, hungrily waiting for the unwary, ready to consume all that ventured too deep into the dark.